I'm Richie Suave Flores.
And I'm Cori Crenshaw.
And this is Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave.
Floated, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Down is the motion man. Little flip to Fitzgerald. He scores. And the Cardinals win an amazing game.
Mikhail Bucker with a chance. He walks in. He scores. Mikhail Bucker for the second straight game is the hero.
Hello, Sporty Nation. We are here for episode 14, and we are so excited, but we are also slightly distracted because we are watching some of the Dodgers game. Dodgers D-backs. My bad. Why did I even say it like that? I don't know what's wrong with me. It's just because I saw it's at Dodger Stadium, so it's constantly seeing all this blue is getting to me. But did you see how many empty seats there are? Like to point that out.
LA traffic.
Yeah, Well, we had a nice packed house for our wild card game, so the fact that they can't get a packed house for game one sucks for them.
We're not going to talk about too much of the NLDS on this show because by the time you guys see it, well, it'll probably be game 3 would have already happened by that point.
Yeah, so we don't want to give you guys any old information. We did an Instagram live before this game today, so that way we could give you some timely information. It can't be as wonderfully done because, you know, we can't be in our studio and having our wonderful producer and editor, director, Fern over here doing them. So we did that one in one of the houses of our sporty crew, and it was pretty interesting, pretty fun. Richie didn't know his days of the week, but that's okay. We're getting through the week, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. And so let's get into let's see. Let's do this. Let's kind of look back and ahead. What should we do first? Should we look ahead to 2018 or look back at the wild card game first? What should we do?
Let's go in chronological order.
Okay.
So let's look back and then look ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about the wild card game because this game was incredible. One of the most memorable games in Diamondbacks history, I would say. I was working at the time, and I very nearly shit my pants multiple times.
I will admit to you that I actually tweeted this out. I thought I was going to throw up.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times I thought I was going to throw up because I was that nervous. Like I told my family members, I go, I really want to get a snack, but I'm afraid if I eat a snack, then I'm just going to throw it back up because I'm so nervous right now. So I'm just not going to eat a snack. And I didn't eat anything until after the game ended because I was that afraid. And it was... Everyone was saying how it's going to be such a fun game because it's going to be so close. It was not fun. It was nerve-wracking. I would have rather they just, won in a good old-fashioned blowout.
Yeah,
but
just kept it 6-0 would have been fine. Yeah,
once it became 6-5, and I was like, oh, Richie's prediction is actually coming true, and I texted you about it. You go, I would really rather my prediction not come true and it just not be this close because you couldn't handle the pressure.
But like the most memorable moment obviously was Archie Bradley's triple. And I will argue that base hit from Archie Bradley is top 6-7 most memorable moments in Diamondbacks history.
Most definitely. And I honestly think that Archie in general is such a key player on this team at this point. He has brought in so much energy and he has become what he calls a vibe. And I mean, it's really cool to see that this type of energy is coming back to this team and that it's bringing so much support. I mean, nothing brings Arizona fans more joy than being able to chant BLA. So I am so excited that they were able to get through that wild card game. It was very tough they are very equally offensively strong teams. So the fact that we knew it was going to be a high scoring game and we knew that it was going to depend upon who could score the most points within the, small frame that they had because it was going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was just hoping that our pitching would come through and they just didn't do it for me. And that was my biggest problem, was the fact that we had to go through so many pitchers and in the fact that it ended up being exactly what I was afraid of. Those key batters on Colorado were just smoking the ball, and it was every single one of them were going straight up the middle.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, all that matters is that the Diamondbacks got the W in that, and they can move on. But if that's kind of the peak, the pinnacle of the Diamondback season, that's one hell of a season. I think you'll take that, especially considering the last 6 years the Diamondbacks have had and their struggles, getting to this point where they're playing who was at one point one of the best teams in Major League Baseball history in the LA Dodgers. So even if they lose this series, that wild card game is going to be remembered for a while.
I definitely think this is a turning point for the Diamondbacks as a group and as a whole. I just really think that since Cori's come in, it's become so much more of a different energy within that clubhouse, and that there's players that are showing their really full compassion for this game.
Mm-hmm.
And Archie is definitely one of those, and the fact that he is already known around this community, but he's going to be known around this community so much more, and he's going to be such a staple going forward, and that's the stuff that we need. I was talking the other night about how many people can you name off of that 2001 World Series winning team, and you're starting to see that out of this team. There are the front runners that they are names that you can just name them off sitting around the table talking about it at dinner with your family. That's something that I think this team hasn't had for a long time outside of Goldie. Everyone's just known Goldie, and that was it. And the fact that they now have these people that are starting to come in and become faces of this team as a group, instead of individuals, I think is going to be part of what makes this team so good and give them their vibe.
Yeah, and talking about Archie Bradley, he went viral, I guess, kind of this week too, because there was a fan who posted on Twitter that he was going to get a tattoo of Archie Bradley if he knocked in a couple runs during the wildcard game. And guess what? He did. And guess what? Archie Bradley replied to the guy on Twitter and basically said, "You better do it."
Oh, yeah. And the guy said, "I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it." He completely reneged on the fact that he was going to do it. So I don't think anyone expected that to happen, especially his roommate, Jake Lamb, was like, "I'll never live this down forever." He's like, no matter what I do in my career, it'll never be as big to Archie as his triple at this game. So, I mean, it was a surprise to everyone, especially the guy that wanted to get that tattoo or said he wanted to get that tattoo. But he is just so entertaining. The Coyotes just brought back Paul Bissonnette to talk on their radio, and Paul Bissonnette was one of those people for the Coyotes, and I feel like Archie Bradley is that really big personality.
Yeah, there's just one difference, because Archie's actually really damn good at what he does.
Oh my gosh, he is very good at this has been a breakout season for him. This has been, I would say, his best season.
Oh, it's by far his best season. I mean, he even struggled kind of the last couple starts at the end of the year, but he still finished with an ERA under 2. I mean, he was ridiculous, and hopefully he's the future closer of this team.
I'm really hoping that Archie can be that closer that we all want him to be as well, but one of the biggest things that's going to be going player-wise moving on is going to be JD, and seeing whether the D-backs can keep them on their team or not, but that's another story for another episode. And right now, we're going to have to be talking about some Coyote stuff.
But before we do that, let's change things up a little bit this week. Cori, you have a dig of the week?
All right. So for this week, I am not going to do my Cori's Corner. I am going to be borrowing, I guess, Richie's Dick of the Week. So, I mean, we've thrown around a few names, but not many of them are really appropriate for the show. I mean, at least with Richie's, the nickname for Richard is Dick, so it actually made sense. But none of them made sense with my name. Just trust us there. But for my Dick of the Week, essentially, I am choosing Cam Newton. I'm sure that you guys all kind of figured out this is who I was going to be talking about, but he is my Dick of the Week for one sole purpose. I know he apologized, and I do like his apology, and I thought it was very sincere, but you cannot tell a reporter whose beat is your team, who is there all the time, that you have seen, but you yet cannot remember her name. You have seen her how many times, and her entire job is to know the ins and outs of your team, what you guys are doing, why you're doing them, and relay that to the public. So therefore, she would look at things like your routes and the fact that you think it's funny that she knows your routes and she talks about your routes is ridiculous, because that is her job. That's like going into McDonald's and not knowing that Szechuan sauce is going to be out on Saturday. You work there, so you have to know. It's like not reading your work emails and your boss comes in and asks you about the work email. It's the things that you know on a basic day-to-day basis. Just because we are females does not mean we know less or care less. There are many females that know the ins and outs of certain sports more than men do because they have a certain passion for that sport. For me and every other woman who is in sports and is a sports journalist or professional of any kind, PR included, any of those, please treat them with respect and treat them as if you would any other employee that is covering your team or is working for your team, because that is their job. This is what they aspired to do. They are not a piece of meat that you can call whatever you want, and they are also not idiots. We are smart, intelligent human beings who just want to achieve our goals in life and want to be doing what we're passionate about, just like every man and woman on this entire planet. So please, every other sports professional, take a lead from this and understand that you cannot be saying these things and you cannot be laughing about it. None of it is funny. It is our job, and please respect that. And that is why for Richie and for me, you, Cam Newton, are our Dick of the Week.
The Arizona Coyotes have begun their 2017-2018 season. We are taping on Friday night, so they have yet to play their home opener against the Vegas Golden Knights. But they did play on Thursday night against the Anaheim Ducks on the road, and they blew a 4-1 lead and lost 5-4. So we thought it'd be a good idea to give our season predictions for the Coyotes, and we're going to give you our keys of the season and some bold predictions. So let's go ladies first. Cori, what is your biggest key to the Arizona Coyotes' success this season?
My first key is that the defense has to play as good as the offense, because last night there was some stellar offense from, in particular, Clayton Keller had a great game. And I just think that the offense of this team is so strong and that they're so young that they are going to progress and do so well throughout the season. However, there were people like Kevin Connaughton, who just got completely walked on one of those goals. Mm-hmm. It was bad. Like, I mean, really bad. You shouldn't be walked that badly in the NHL. I'm sorry. But they are not up to par with the offense of this team. So it's going to be perfectly fine. They'll be able to score quite a few goals themselves. But, you know, they scored 4, gave up 5 last night. So I just think that the defense of this team needs to be up to par for this team to be good.
I agree, and I think it's gonna turn around eventually. Because remember, they're playing in a new system under Rick Tocchet. Couple new faces on that blue line, and Nicholas Stromelson and Jason Demers, who made their Coyotes debuts last night. And that top 4 is a very good top 4. I have faith that those 4 guys, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Alex Goligoski included in those top 4.
Alex Goligoski, on side note, he played really well last night. He had 3 assists, and he was stellar. He
looked very good. That was his best game as a Coyote, including last season. And that's why I don't think the defense is going to be the biggest problem of this team. I think they're going to be pretty good. The bottom pair is interesting. Like you said, Kevin Connaughton, part of that bottom pairing, not good. Luke Shen, going to be part of that bottom pairing at times. He isn't good. It's basically a waiting game until they get Jacob Chikrin back on that bottom pairing, and then they'll be very good.
And then you also have to factor in the fact that Ronta is also injured at the moment.
Yes, that's speaking of keys of the season. That's my biggest key to the season, because they invested so much in bringing him over from the New York Rangers, replacing Mike Smith. They have so much invested in a guy who had never really been a front of the line starter anywhere else, that this team will go as the Arizona or as Antti Raanta goes. And we haven't seen him play yet. Again, we're taping on Friday. Louis Domingue got the start on Thursday night. If Antti Raanta plays to the best of his ability and plays like the top 6, 7, top 10 goaltender like he was in New York, this team is going to succeed. He's going to be the biggest key. And if he succeeds, you might as well throw his name into the Vezina conversation too.
Yeah, I honestly think that last night, Domingue played a very average, somewhat below average game.
I was definitely below average.
I mean, like, there were certain things that were highlights of him, like the fact that he did decide to take on Corey Perry, and I know that's something that you wouldn't actually think as being a highlight, but that does show some feistiness from him that he did not have before. He was very meh, very even. There wasn't kind of blah, I think was the way that you would describe him. So the fact that you're actually seeing some passion from him this season is something that's nice, but there were just a few easy goals on him that I understand your defense kind of fell apart in a couple spots, but you can't be letting some of these goals in. And there were some easy rebound goals that I thought it was going to be obvious that they were going to be coming back on him, and he didn't even think twice about it. And I just think that that's going to be a sore spot, as well as you do, that until Ronta comes back, it's going to be very dependent on the defense being able to show up because of the fact that Domingue is not strong enough at net.
Yeah. We'll definitely see how that goes as the season goes along. But what about some bold predictions for this team? So we'll mention if they're going to make the playoffs in just a moment. But I have mine is actually kind of a weak prediction, but because a lot of people think it's going to happen. But what's yours?
Well, I want to hear yours first.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Well, yeah, you claimed it was bold and then it was weak. So I'm really curious now. And so I just really want to know.
Well, I'll let the Sporty Nation decide how bold it really is. But Clayton Keller looked unbelievable in his first game this season with the Coyotes, scoring his first career goal on that line with Max Domi and Derek Stepan. And, I mean, Charlie McAvoy had a great game for the Bruins, too, his rookie season. But I think Clayton Keller is going to win the Calder this year, Rookie of the Year.
If he comes out the way he did last night, he is going to have an amazing season, and I could honestly see that. It is something that I think is really nice to see, and I was saying this as we were watching the game last night. It's very nice to see from a draft pick that the Coyotes have for once. I mean, my bold prediction is I think Strome is actually going to have a decent season, which is something that I don't think that many people were looking to see. That
I'd kind of agree with that, because, I mean, my expectations are kind of, and I was talking with people on Twitter about this the other day too, which is where the Coyotes fans' expectations are for him. And going into this season, like, I've never been the biggest fan of Dylan Strome.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, mostly because he just, every time I've watched him, he doesn't get noticed on the ice. Unlike a guy, like a Connor McDavid or a Jack Eichel or a Clayton Keller or, a Tobias Reeder, where every time he's on the ice, he's on the ice. And Dylan Strome isn't that. So, talking to people on Twitter this couple days ago, I think that the kind of idea with him is he's going to get around, 15 goals, 15 assists, 30 points. Do you think that's fair?
I don't think by any stretch he's going to be a standout player, because he's just not. Clayton Keller is a small dude, but he stands out like nobody's business. It's so great on how much he's able to be such a standout player, but I don't think ever Strome's going to be that player. And I just,
at least not yet.
I'm making kind of a bold prediction that I think he's going to be run of the mill throughout his entire career. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where he's just, oh my gosh, we need him on our team, because he's not
going to be the third overall pick that franchise centerman that they basically sold us on.
Yeah, he's because he came in and he just didn't ever show that, and I don't think he will ever come to the point where he'll be that way. I think he'll be decent. He'll have a nice, solid career, but it's not going to be anything stand out. And I mean, moving on from him, because I really wanted to talk about someone else really quickly, is Anthony Duclair. He came in last night and had a very good game, and I think it is a great sign from him, and the fact that there is a new front office, because he seems to be coming out with renewed energy and coming out with a new mindset that I did not see last season at all, and when he was doing all of his AHL stuff.
Yeah, that's, to me, that goal is so huge for him, because I felt like a lot of last season and his struggles he had in the queue as well were mostly mental for him. And so to come back out and get his first goal of the season, basically 5 minutes into the game, it's huge for him. I think he's going to get back on track this season. I think he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be as electric as he was in his rookie year, but I think you can mark him down for 15 to 20 goals this season, because they definitely need him, because that was their biggest problem last year is Domi and Duclair weren't the same Domi and Duclair. Domi was hurt. Duclair had a lot of issues, and they had no scoring.
Domi needs to not fight people every 5 seconds. That's what OEL's there for. That's why OEL came in and started fighting Perry. Like, that's what he's there for. He's one of those really feisty players like that.
Yeah.
We need Domi to be a wonderful forward and do the things that he needs, that he is normally doing on the ice, as opposed to fighting people. We don't need him to be an enforcer. I understand his lineage, but we don't need him going down that same route.
No, I agree. And I think, both of those players are going to be key for this team and whether or not they're going to be a playoff team. So quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, we got to get to Derek Stepan and Jordan Martinook in just a moment. But are they a playoff team?
I think since they're a very young team, it's hard to say for sure right now. But if all of the pieces fall in line, like I hope they will, yes.
I disagree. I don't think this team's a playoff team quite yet.
If they fall in line to where these young kids grow up quick, they have to have
everything go right in order to make the playoffs.
Yes, if they fall in line and Ronta is at peak health.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Things have to go perfectly.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know who they're going to bump out of who was in the playoffs last season. That's the biggest question for me, because I think Calgary is going to be a little bit better. Edmonton's clearly I think they're going to win the Pacific Division. Connor McDavid's going to have another ridiculous season, but it's not quite their time. This is such a young team, and I actually asked Derek Stepan about that, and you hear about that next, about the youth of this team. I think that's going to be their biggest disservice, is they're just too young.
Yeah, he definitely had some really interesting thoughts on it.
Yep, so I caught up with both Jordan Martinook and Derek Stepan at the Coyotes luncheon event last week, and I began asking Jordan Martinook about the Arizona Diamondbacks, because he actually had a chance to take batting practice with the Diamondbacks last month, and I asked him, what was that like, Derek?
It was definitely something that I've been interested in doing for the past 3 years, so to be able to get the chance to do that and just go down and see like how they interact in the clubhouse and how that team really gels. It's really cool to see, and just having the two teams being able to interact and them invite us out, and obviously we invite them out as much as we can. So it's good to have the camaraderie of the two teams, that's for sure.
So between you and Louie and Krauser, who actually ended up doing the best in the cage?
Krauser
really?
Krauser hit a home run, so that was pretty big.
Would Lawson Krause be the best fit on a baseball team?
I think he just got lucky. Once we were out in the field, he didn't really do much, but he was good behind the plate, but wasn't much of a fielder. And
did you get a chance to actually meet with any of the Arizona Diamondbacks? And from that team, who would be the best fit on the ice?
Well, I didn't get to meet him, but I've been watching him a lot, and a big fan of Archie Bradley. Just his dynamic around that team, I think it would fit in real well in a hockey dressing room. So just seeing him, I've been trying to watch him every night, so seeing how he's kind of a jokester and likes to play around, so that would fit well with us.
Jordan Martinook joining us here on Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave. And Jordan, when you were introduced to the crowd at the face-off luncheon, they mentioned that you care quite a bit about Down syndrome. Why is that cause so important to you?
I've been around it since I was a baby. My mom's been in. She's worked with adults with development that are developmentally delayed since I can remember, since I was a little kid. So I've always been drawn to people with Down syndrome just because they have such big hearts, and it's just they love life more than any of us do. So for me to be a part of that and to me to help that is anything I can do to be a part of it is very rewarding for me, and it just I think it makes my mom pretty proud of the way she raised me, and that I take pride in being a part of it.
One of the biggest storylines heading into the season, Jordan, is the fact that Coach Rick Tocchet has decided to not name a captain at the start of the season. Does that change the dynamic at all in the room?
No, not at all. I think you look at most of our team, there's a lot of guys that want to be a leader. So there's, as much as sometimes you need to single out a captain, there's almost a greater satisfaction when you have more guys helping out. Especially when you lose a guy like our captain for the past 13 years or whatever. You can't really replace that right away. You gotta. It's a feeling out process, and you see who fits best. And luckily enough, we have a lot of guys that'll be ready to be a leader any way that they can, and we'll do it by committee for now.
And have you actually played without a captain on a previous team before?
Yeah, it's especially when you're younger. I feel like when you're younger, the captain is just kind of. Sometimes it's the best player. It gets to be the captain, not the one that I guess would deserve it the most. But I think it's a good way to see who can step up and who can be the person that really drives the group and leads the group, and hopefully we have 8 captains by the end of the year, and that's what we're going to need to be a successful team.
Wrapping it up here with Jordan Martinook on Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave. And before I let you go, Jordan, brand new coach Rick Tocchet has come in here and coached his first couple of games in the regular season. But what are some of the differences between your previous coach Dave Tippett and Rick Tocchet?
Just a lot of speed, a lot of onus on everybody needs to do their job and do it good so we can be successful, and just a style of playing fast and we have so many fast, skilled forwards for us to be able to get the reins kind of let off us a little bit and be able to just go, and not be good defensively, but be able to go and play offense is going to be a lot of fun.
Sporty Nation, I also got a chance to catch up with brand new center Derek Stepan at the Coyotes luncheon, and I asked Derek, what was it like throwing out the first pitch at Chase Field last month?
I told them if they need me at all, my arm's loose, it's ready to go. But no, it was a great experience to be able to go out and get my family around a game and get to throw out the first pitch, and they've been playing some pretty good baseball, so it's always good for the state of Arizona to have teams in the playoffs, and I think they started it for us this year, and now it's our turn to step up.
And Derek, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Jordan, which is no captain for at least the time being to start the season. Does that change anything inside the locker room?
I think we have a good group of guys that can lead with or without letters, with or without A's, with or without C's, and I think that's important. Is that your nucleus group that Chaika's been talking about is strong, and I think it's important that our group is kind of led by a number of people, not just one. As we kind of feel each other out a little bit here, because we do have a lot of new faces, new coaches, and as it kind of goes along here, we just got to try to figure out exactly how the balance of our leadership group is going to work.
Have you had to deal with that in the past, not having a captain?
We traded Ryan Callahan for Marty St. Louis, so we played the year we went to the Cup Finals. We didn't have we didn't have a captain. We had 4 A's that rotated.
Talking with Derek Stepan, Arizona Coyotes centerman, and Coyotes fans, Derek, are super excited about this because you have 2 brand new line mates in Max Domi and Clayton Keller. What's it been like playing with those two so far?
Super skilled guys, guys that we've seemed to click and have some chemistry together, which has been a lot of fun, and some young guys that bring some youthful hockey minds, which is great.
Do they change your game at all playing with them?
No. It's important that we play our games that got us to where we are, and I think that the three of our games kind of balance out nicely with each other, and we kind of find a groove.
Derek Stepan here on Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave. And Derek, before we get you out of here, I got to ask about what it's been like playing underneath Rick Tocchet this season.
Well, I think Tocchet has made his message very clear that he wants to have an open-door policy. He wants to be able to play fast. He wants to make sure that we come in and we compete every single night and work hard. And it's a pretty simple recipe that he's given us, and I think he's trying to keep it simple here and try to understand that this is what it takes to do what he's done in the last 2 years in Pittsburgh. So I think he brings a lot of great things. I think he's a good communicator for some young players, and I think it's been a really good start to the year for him.
Derek, this season's kind of a big change for you because you're coming over from a team in the New York Rangers that was a very veteran team, and now you're playing with the Coyotes, and it's a very young team. What is that like for you?
It's different, all of a sudden I come in, I'm the second oldest guy on the team, so it's as a forward at least, and there's some, listen, the NHL is going younger. That's just the way it is. Everyone's getting youthful and everyone's going with younger players, and we're no different here. We got a young group that's eager to play, ready to learn, and ready to work extremely hard.
So earlier in the show, Cori got to do her Dick of the Week. So this week, I am going to do a brand new segment called Suave's Stoop. So take a seat with me, won't you? And this week, I'm going to piggyback off of what Cori said. And I want to take on Cam Newton from a male journalist's perspective. What he said to me was disgusting, frankly. As somebody who gets a chance to work with the only female sports talk shows on a full-time basis in the Valley, and that's Crash Gladys on the Freaks. And as somebody who gets to talk sports with Cori every week on this show, it means a lot to me personally that every single female in sports gets the same chances that I get. Just because we have different freaking sex organs doesn't mean we can't cover sports exactly the same way. So to me, as a young male reporter, I am going to take it upon myself to make sure that the culture in locker rooms and covering sports is different. So I want to ask you something of you, Sporty Nation. I want you to go on Twitter, if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook or on any other sites. I want you to go out and I want you to seek out female journalists. And I want you to read them, and I want you to retweet them, and I want you to appreciate what they do on a daily basis because they are really freaking good at what they do. Thank you for joining me on my stoop this week, everybody. Have a great one. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, and get sports, everybody.